Bradmill closed in the 1st of July in 2005. People were producing yarns from overseas that was just too hard to get into the market. I mean, even though we did last for quite a while.
It was not going to last. It was not going to last in Australia. And the equipment was antiquated. It was very expensive to buy things like pad steam dye ranges, which we did, but the future was never there. And we could all see that.
It was during the Hawke-Keating era when they were opening up Australia. And the first thing that went were quotas. So we had no quotas to protect it. There was nothing to stop any amount of products coming into the country.
This went on for probably 20, 30 years. It was a gradual phase out of tariffs. The reasoning was that we were integrating into offshore markets. You know, the people that we worked with in government that were drafting these programs, and the economists and the industry itself, there was great faith that the industry with these programs would survive. I don't think there was anyone that thought that the industry would contract as fast as it did. And I don't think anyone realised how fast offshore industries geared up to compete against us.
In the end, it was just the death of us was inevitable, but we kept going and going until it was just that time where we had no choice, where it wasn't going to happen anymore. Yeah.
I mean, we did operate for nearly 50 years in a very competitive environment. There were periods when retrenchments had to be made, and that hit everybody hard. It hit the managers very hard when they had no other choice, and we had to do those things. The thing that kept people together was the people who stayed and were still there too, had one another for support. It was that togetherness that kept everybody going.
It was a big part of their lives. It was all they knew. It was their community slowly being torn apart. It was so painful for so many people. They'd been there for 30 years, you know, would have been there longer.
People were very, very worried. They can't find another job, especially people who is an age. It was very worried, very upset. People were living closer. They have to look, who knows, far away for their jobs. Sometimes can't even find the jobs, especially if you're older. It's hard.
I didn't want to leave, but it was very stressful. People being made redundant, and I didn't want to leave.
These big companies like Bradmill and even the motor industry like Toyota and all those big manufacturers, they employed a lot of people, and it kept the social fabric of that community very stable. I mean, if someone decided, let's set up the textile industry in this country again, where are you going to get the people from? We're all retired now, we're all gone. We pulled it all down, and it was a bittersweet sort of a thing. Like, we actually dismantled that site. It took almost 2 years. We ended up pulling it all apart, packing it into containers. As a matter of fact, there was 125 40-foot containers that we loaded up and sent to India. And that was the end of that, unfortunately. And it was a bit sad seeing it being pulled down, but it was a nice farewell, you know.
So the site was abandoned, and it was just, buildings were torn apart. There was rubble. There was a lot of rubbish everywhere. It was not maintained. It was an eyesore. But some of the historic buildings that remained, like the boiler house and the proofing building, it attracted a lot of young people because it gave them a surface. With any inch that was available, it was graffitied.
And to see that those buildings come down, and to see that now being used for YouTubers to perform in is confounding. Every time I drive up the freeway towards the Westgate Bridge and I see on the left-hand side what was something wonderful, I get really sad. It is so sad that the policies that were put in place and the successive governments couldn't make it work, and that we couldn't make a high-quality, high-tech, good mill work.
I go across the freeway, across the bridge, because you see the boiler house is still there with the graffiti on it. And I always say to my grandkids if in the car, well, that's where I used to live, and that's the boiler house, and that's the heritage listed boiler house.
We drive past there with the grandkids, and I used to work there, even though it's not manufacturing anymore, but the site will always remain Bradmill.